Meanwhile, back on the Attack Canada front, we heard earlier in the program from the not so well. We heard from the footloose and fancy-free Larry Kudlow earlier in the program, who was clearly celebrating his new position very early, it appears. Here is Peter Navarro. He is the president's top trade advisor, on with Chris Wallace in the wake of what appears to be the opening salvos of an extended trade war with our largest trading partner and probably closest ally, Canada.
Over new tariffs he's imposed on steel and aluminum imports. Joining us now, one of the architects of that controversial plan, White House trade advisor Peter Navarro. Mr. Navarro, the summit ended with a nasty dust-up between President Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. He held a news conference after the summit in which he said Canada will retaliate for tariffs that the U.S. has imposed.
Let's pause it for 1 second. You know, this whole dust-up thing, the idea that a country would retaliate to tariffs placed upon them because they're supposedly a national security threat, I don't even know if I would call that a dust-up. This is wholly created by Donald Trump. Wholly and totally created by Donald Trump.
The natural cause and effect.
Right, exactly.
On Canadian aluminum and steel, here is Trudeau.
We move forward with retaliatory measures on July 1st, applying equivalent tariffs to the ones that the Americans have unjustly applied to us. Canadians were polite, we're reasonable, but we also will not be pushed around.
Well, President Trump responded with this tweet while flying here on Air Force One to Singapore. Trudeau of Canada acted as so meek and mild during our G7 meetings, only to give a news conference after I left. Very dishonest and weak. Question, Mr. Navarro, is that really how we want to deal with our second biggest trading partner?
Chris, there's a special place in hell for any foreign leader that engages in bad faith diplomacy with President Donald J. Trump and then tries to stab him in the back on the way out the door. And that's what bad faith Justin Trudeau did with that stunt press conference. That's what weak, dishonest Justin Trudeau did. And that comes right from Air Force One. And I'll tell you this, to my friends in Canada, that was one of the worst political miscalculations of a Canadian leader in modern Canadian history. All Justin Trudeau had to do was take the win. President Trump did the courtesy to Justin Trudeau to travel up to Quebec for that summit. He had other things, bigger things on his plate in Singapore, where you are now, Chris. He did him a favor, and he was even willing to sign that socialist communique. And what did Trudeau do as soon as the plane took off from Canadian airspace? Trudeau stuck our president in the back.
You know, it's amazing how personal that this guy's talking about this. Like, he did him a solid by coming to his party when he had a different party to go to. And then he even signed on to his letter, and then he was just a dick.
It's like The Hills, but starring the parents.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Say it to my face.
There's only one move left.
Deutschen Luschen Lagen. Honestly, that stab in the back thing, if folks want to, look, people use turns in the phrase all the time. But that phrase, maybe just a coincidence, was used quite a bit in the run-up to the Nazi Germany Holocaust as arguing that the Jews were doing that to the German people.
But that was also why Dad said we couldn't have black people in our apartment units. It just works for everything.
Deutsche Luschen
Dolchstoßlegende.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Dolchstoßlegende.
Germans are scary, man.
But, if you look at that press conference, it's not like Trudeau he just said, we're polite.
but that guy's a total loser. And if you
course-
keep pushing me, I'm going to screw your daughter. That's what he needs to do. You're upset now? Huh? I'd like to see you angry. How about your daughter and your fake wife? Everyone.
Now, as you know,
The whole team's getting hit.
Peter Navarro said that there's a special place in hell for people who...
There's a special place in hell for people who counter-brief after a meeting about a tariff
I don't let
dispute.
anybody that argues in bad faith around me, okay?
There's a special place
I'm
in
having
hell
him.
for leaders, specific leaders who fill in the blank, kill their own people, attack, start wars without provocation,
No.
Starve their own people,
Yeah.
put people in
Negotiable.
detention centers, separate children from
Spread
their parents.
misinformation.
Yes. No, it's not that. It's if you in any way cross President Donald J. Trump, and who better to carry that torch than Fox and Friends and Seb Gorka?
Meanwhile, let's take a step backwards, Sebastian. When the president left Canada on Saturday, it sounded like he was going to sign on to that communique regarding what had happened at the G7 summit. But then Justin Trudeau got out on television and shot off his mouth, and the president was steamed because it made him look weak, he felt. What did you think of the prime minister?
Very disappointed. Really childish and unprofessional behavior. If you want to treat your friends like friends, that's exactly what you do. You don't make arrangements face to face, and then as soon as the individuals left the building, talk behind their back. That's not what true friends do, and I think Peter Navarro's commentary on Fox was spot on. The Canadians will regret this action by their prime minister.
There you go. Peter Navarro was spot on. That's it.
Friends don't
Good
do
to know.
that to other friends. We're trying to build a friendship-based order.
Gives you,
broke the
gives you a
guy
good sense
code.
of what Seb Gorka's got on his plate in Singapore if he's actually just scanning Fox News for different interviews. Apparently not as much reporting duties as he thought he might have there.
He's the kind of wingman that gets you drunk and then shakes the babe that you're totally trying to score with. No integrity whatsoever.
Poor wingman. Meanwhile, Seb Gorka is in Singapore. Oh, yeah. Here is a clip. We didn't play this earlier with Guy, but here's a picture that apparently Trudeau gave Donald Trump. Can you zoom in on the... okay, it's a picture of Donald Trump's grandfather's hotel, I guess. It was Fred Trump Sr., right, when he was in Canada. And apparently it turns out that was a brothel. And some people suggest that perhaps maybe there was a little bit of trolling that was going on here. That
It was a gold rush brothel, a boomtown brothel, which is an interesting place for the Trump fortune to
classy
begin.
There's
classy
a lot
stuff.
of people
Classy
were able
stuff.
to make a lot of deals at that brothel.
Look, don't be against sex work.
What's
Listen,
wrong with
here
sex?
we
Why
go.
are you shaming sex workers
That's
now?
right.
That's not very enlightened.
Trump is like that American Vandal kid who can only apply himself in the area of fucking with people.
Right.
That's
So,
exactly the kind of
it's very
reference I
possible.
understand. I know those references. I know all references. All references.
There you have it. Meanwhile, we mentioned tonight,
And
9
Grandpa
p.m.
Trump was peed on right there. Right at that. That was the first block. That was where it was a cold night and he was sweaty and the insulation was very bad. And he said, you know, girls, you know what we're going to do? We're going to shower me off. And that's how it started.
And that started a lot of laundry patents too.
Yeah. It's a whole family tradition. I remember Dad would tell me about it because I would have to watch Dad while
It's
he was
also-
peed on. And then Dad would say, I run the family. I run the family. You don't talk to Mommy.
That's what Grandpa-
But she's not Mommy.
Grandpa got the idea for video cameras after he said, good thing there's no video cameras invented yet, and I can't get in trouble or blackmailed. And then, of course, that was the idea for the video camera.
And then he
For him to
owned a
be-
chain of Radio Shacks in Kew Gardens. which got shut down because we wouldn't sell radios to Puerto Rican
There you
people.
go.
So many stories.
The family tree. The family tree. Your father ripped off someone, and his father. So
just crap, disgusting
tonight-
to the core, like going back thousands of years.
Yes. This is an image of your great grandfather Trump, who was a shepherd, who would pay the sheep to pee on him.
And he would be up in the hills. By the way, he was the best shepherd.
Sheep would
there.
pee on him, and he would never tell anybody about it.
Felt invigorated.
No, it is.
And then the other shepherds held it over him as black.
That's right.
And the sheep were loyal. Loyal
They
sheep.
were loyal
That's
sheep.
right.
And that's how leadership should be.
That's right.
And then Dad punched me in the face.
Leadership.